everybody. My name is Claudia Pellegrini. I'm an English teacher and I'm from Meran, a town of 41,000 inhabitants in the autonomous province of Südtirol, which together with the province of Trento forms Italy's northernmost region. I will now open several windows into my world and share with you some of my experiences with multilingualism that are related to the region where I'm from, to my family, to my professional and to my academic life. I will first introduce South Tyrol and its multilingualism. Then I will give an overview of some relevant historical events in the 20th century that led to its political self-government. Next, I will briefly outline the school system in our province and present you the plurilingual curriculum that has recently been developed. Some theoretical scientific assumptions behind the Mehrsprachencurriculum Südtirol and its aim will be given before I will conclude my talk by telling you about my experience with this instrument as a teacher at the high school where I work. The first window opens on the geographical position and on the socio-linguistic situation in South Tyrol. South Tyrol has a population of about 530,000 inhabitants, and its capital city is Bolzano. Together with the autonomous province Trento, it forms the region Trentino-Südtirol. South Tyrol is an autonomous province in northern Italy and borders to Austria and Switzerland. Its official denomination is trilingual, Autonome Provinz Bozen-Südtirol in German, Provincia Autonoma di Bolzano Alto Adige in Italian, and Provincia Autonoma di Bolzano Südtirol in Latin, thus reflecting the three main language groups to which its population belong or are affiliated. Here you can see two pictures of Meran. Meran combines alpine beauty with Mediterranean flair. The town is surrounded by mountains and has a Mediterranean vegetation, as you can see from the palm trees. According to the 2011 census, in which the citizens were asked to declare their sense of belonging or their affiliation to a linguistic group, the majority, that is 69.41% of the population of this Italian province, declared belonging or being affiliated to the German linguistic group. Standard German is the official language, and it is used, for instance, at school, in the news and TV programs, in newspapers, and in all official and written documents. In daily life, however, Südtirolerisch, an Austro-Bavarian dialect, is used by the German native speakers. The dialect differs from valley to valley, making it easy for us South Tyrolians to locate exactly where a speaker comes from. Only 26.06% declared belonging or being affiliated to the Italian linguistic group. Italian speakers live mainly in the two largest cities, Bolzano and Meran. No Italian dialect is spoken in South Tyrol, as Italian has a relatively short history in our province. Its speakers are descendants from Italians that had come from all over Italy during fascism, or they are citizens that have moved to South Tyrol from different Italian provinces in later periods. Only 4.53% of the population declared being affiliated to the Latin linguistic group. Latin is a Rhaeto-Romance language, which is spoken mainly in the mountain group of the Dolomites, a famous holiday destination and UNESCO World Heritage Site. In South Tyrol, it is spoken in Val Gardena and in Val Badia. Due to the recent immigration, the number of native speakers of other languages is also increasing. I myself have grown up with two languages and two dialects. I consider Südtirolerisch my mother tongue and my language of the heart. I learned Standard German in kindergarten and at school, as I attended school where the language of instruction was German. My father tongue is Italian. My father, originally from a village near Lake Garda, spoke only Standard Italian to me. I learned the native Verona dialect of his area when on holiday at my grandmother's in the summer. My social linguistics surrounding in my hometown is bilingual. The ratio between Italian and German native speaker is well balanced. This makes it easy in Meran to use both languages in daily life. In rural areas, this is more difficult since the population there consists mainly of German native speakers. The second window opens to South Tyrol's interesting and complex past. I will now explain why I live in Italy, speaking a minority language in a territory where the majority are German speakers. At the beginning of the 20th century, South Tyrol was part of the County of Tyrol of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Austria-Hungary was one of the Central Powers in World War I. When it lost the war, the empire was dissolved. In September 1919, the Treaty of Saint-Germain-en-Laye was signed by the victorious Allies and the new Republic of German Austria. In this context, the predominantly German-speaking South Tyrol and the Italian-speaking Trentino were annexed to Italy. After the rise of Italian fascism in 1922, the new regime forced the Italianization of South Tyrol ruthlessly. The German language was banished from use in public service. German schools and the teaching of the language were officially forbidden. So were all German traditions. Family names and all place names were translated into Italian. To reduce the German-speaking population to a minority status, the regime intensified immigration from other Italian regions. My maternal grandmother, for instance, was an Italian from the Emilia-Romagna, who was sent by the fascist government as a teacher to a remote village in the mountains in the Finchka Valley. There she married my grandfather, a German-speaking local. Hers is an example of integration, but this was an exception. Normally, the forced Italianization brought great sufferings to the inhabitants of South Tyrol. South Tyrol became a place of contending claims between the German and Italian nationalism. After an agreement between the dictators Benito Mussolini and Adolf Hitler in 1939, the native German-speaking people were given the option of either emigrating to Nazi Germany, of which Austria was part after the Anschluss in 1938, or remaining in fascist Italy. The latter option meant that they would have to give up their German language and culture. Over 85% opted therefore to move to Germany. My grandfather, however, opted for Italy and was regarded as a traitor by his fellow villagers. The immigration of most families came to an end in 1943, when South Tyrol was occupied by Nazi Germany until the end of World War II in 1945. In 1943, the Italian government had signed a treaty with the Allies. When in 1945 the Allies won the war, they decided that the province should remain a part of Italy, yet on condition that the German-speaking population was granted a significant level of self-government. In 1946, Italy and Austria negotiated an agreement which recognized the rights of the German minority. In 1948, the autonomous region of Trentino-Alto Adige was created. German and Italian were both made official languages, and the German language education was permitted once more. Yet the political tensions were not over until in 1972, South Tyrol was granted an even greater level of self-government. The present institutional framework is now considered a model for settling inter-ethnic conflicts and for the protection of linguistic minorities. Durch das dritte Fenster erlangen Sie einen Einblick in den Aufbau des Südtiroler Bildungssystems in deutscher Sprache. Das Autonomiestatut sieht vor, dass in Südtirol die deutsche, die italienische und die ladinische Sprachgruppe eigene Schulverwaltung und ein eigenes Schulwesen haben, um die deutsche und ladinische Sprache und Kultur zu schützen. Durch das zweite Autonomiestatut von 1972 hat Südtirol im Vergleich zu den anderen Regionen Italiens eine Reihe von Zuständigkeiten im Bildungssektor erhalten. So werden beispielsweise der Kindergarten, die Berufsbildung, die Schulverwaltung und der Schulbau in primärer Kompetenz des Landes verwaltet. Im Bereich des Unterrichts an den Grund-, Mittel- und Oberschulen staatlicher Art hat Südtirol hingegen nur eine sekundäre Kompetenz und muss sich an die Vorgaben des Staates halten. Grundsätzlich gilt eine 10-jährige Schulpflicht, die durch eine Ausbildungspflicht bis zum 18. Jahr ergänzt wird. Der 3-jährige Besuch des Kindergartens ist freiwillig. Die Schulpflicht beginnt ab der Grundschule, welche 5 Jahre dauert. Danach folgt der 3-jährige Besuch der Mittelschule. Im Anschluss können die Schülerinnen und Schüler eine 5-jährige Oberschule oder eine 3- bis 4-jährige Berufsbildung besuchen. Auch letztere kann seit 2015 mit einer Matura, dem Abitur, abgeschlossen werden. Im Allgemeinen entsprechen der Aufbau und die Regelungen denen der staatlichen Schulordnung. In der Berufsbildung hingegen gibt es deutliche Unterschiede. Die Eltern können entscheiden, ob sie ihre Kinder in eine Schule mit deutscher oder mit italienischer Unterrichtssprache schicken. Auch Wechsel sind erlaubt. Verpflichtend ist in beiden Schulen jeweils der Unterricht auch der anderen Landessprache. Das heißt, an den italienischen Schulen müssen jeweils einige Stunden Deutschunterricht und an den deutschen Schulen müssen jeweils einige Stunden Italienischunterricht von Muttersprachlern abgehalten werden. In den ladinischen Tälern ist die Situation anders. Es gibt dort das sogenannte paritätische Modell. Dieses Schulmodell sieht sowohl Deutsch als auch Italienisch als Hauptunterrichtssprachen vor. Verpflichtend ist außerdem der Unterricht der ladinischen Sprache in allen Schulstufen. By opening the fourth window, I will now introduce you to the Mehrsprachencurriculum Südtirol, the Plurilingual curriculum for South Tyrol, which was developed within the Department of Pedagogy of the Department for German Education in South Tyrol. It was anchored in the resolution of the provincial government number 1383 of the 1st of December 2015. In the resolution, multilingualism is defined as follows. Il plurilinguismo è inteso come la capacità di una persona di capire, parlare, leggere e scrivere più di una lingua, senza tuttavia avere la pretesa di conoscere alla perfezione tutte le lingue. Il plurilinguismo nel mondo non è un'eccezione, ma una norma. Esso viene considerato come un arricchimento culturale e una risorsa per una comunicazione più varia. Il plurilinguismo non costituisce un pericolo per la prima lingua se alla prima lingua viene riservata la necessaria cura. Molte lingue si rafforzano a vicenda e possono incrementare la competenza linguistica generale. The Mehrsprachencurriculum Südtirol, edited by Schwienbacher, Quartapelle and Patscheider in 2017, constitutes an important milestone in the development of language teaching in South Tyrol. While the safeguard of German as minority language is still stressed, the multilingual reality in the world is also taken into account. The Mehrsprachencurriculum Südtirol courageously opens up to all other languages present in the school curriculum and also in the classroom, and is based on recent scientific evidence in multilingualism research. In the past 10 years, other common language curricula have been developed in Europe, such as the Gesamtsprachencurriculum by Hufeisen in 2011 or the Curriculum Mehrsprachigkeit by Krumm and Reich in 2011. Experiences with common language curricula in institutional settings in Europe are described also in Mehrsprachencurriculum PlurCur, edited by Allgäuer-Hackl, Brogan, Henning and Schlabach in 2015. These common language curricula stem from a holistic view of multilingualism and have been developed in Europe to enforce synergy effects both in language instruction and language learning. Research on multilingualism is based on the idea that learners or speakers of multiple languages are different from bilinguals and monolinguals. Researchers on third language acquisition and multilingualism overcome the fractional view adopted by second language acquisition in favor of a holistic view. A common belief among scholars in the second language acquisition tradition was that the bi-multilingual speakers can be seen as a sum of several multilinguals in one. The linguistic competence of these speakers was traditionally measured against monolingual native standards. Fractional view was overcome in 1985 by Brogan, who claimed that the bilingual speaker was a specific and competent speaker-hearer of his own right. He compared the bilingual speaker to a hurdler who combined sprinting and high jump abilities, without being a sprinter nor a jumper, but an athlete running in a separate discipline. A holistic view was also proposed by Cummins in 1991-2003. He assumed that the languages in the mind do not function separately, but are independent and share a common underlying proficiency. To illustrate this idea, he used the image of an iceberg with two peaks. While only the peaks are visible on the surface, underwater the iceberg is joined by a big common basis. When transferring the metaphor to language learning, the peaks are the single languages, and the common basis corresponds to the linguistic competencies which serve as a common think tank. A holistic view of multilingualism is adopted also by Harden and Jesner in 2002. The two scholars apply dynamic system theory to multilingualism. They claim that the competencies in the various language systems of a multilingual speaker are non-linear but dynamic and interconnected and change over time. These are some of the theoretical foundations behind the Mehrsprachencurriculum Südtirol, which is an instrument that enables both schools and teachers of all types and grades to coordinate the instruction of multiple languages. It provides a helpful grid of descriptors of multilingual competencies, which are divided into 4 categories. Savoir, which is related to knowledge about multilingualism. Savoir-faire, which is the ability to act multilingually. It comprises both language and intercultural skills. Savoir-apprendre refers to the conscious ability to apply language learning and transfer strategies, and refers to the enhancement of multilingual awareness, that is, of meta and cross-linguistic awareness. Savoir-être is the awareness of multilingualism and the multilingual diversity related to personal competencies, which are related to behavior, attitudes, and interests. As the authors of the Plurilingual Curriculum for South Tyrol and the researchers of multilingualism, such as Jesner and her team, claim, the transfer of multilingual competencies does not happen automatically, but needs specific training and awareness raising. The Plurilingual Curriculum for South Tyrol also stresses that language instruction does not only happen during traditional language lessons, but should be done in all subjects. Now I will open another window and give you a glimpse of my professional life. I have been an English teacher at the Sprachengymnasium in Meran for over 30 years. In the photo you can see the bilingual sign of the school building. The German name of the institution comes before the Italian one, since it is a school where the language of instruction is German. In schools where the language of instruction is Italian, it's the other way round, and the Italian name comes before the German one. My school is a high school with focus on languages and literatures. My students are between 14 and 19 years old and are predominantly German native speakers. Some have been raised bilingual, German-Italian. A few have other home languages, such as Russian, Chinese, Polish, Czech, or Slovak. The main language of instruction is German. Italian is taught as L2. English is L3. These languages are taught 4 hours per week from year 1 to 5. L4 is either French, Spanish, or Russian. L4 is 4 lessons a week for 4 years and 3 lessons a week in year 4. All students also study Latin as classical language for 5 years. 3 hours per week from year 1 to 4 and 2 hours in year 5. In my long teaching experience, I have always been lucky to work together with many engaged teachers in numerous multilingual projects on school level, and local level, and even on European level. All these projects, however, have been the initiative of single teachers and teams. When some teachers left for various reasons, new team partners had to be found and new projects had to be designed. To counter this drawback, a group of highly motivated teachers decided to take part in the scientific piloting phase of the Mehrsprachencurriculum Südtirol, which began in 2013. Convinced of its benefit, the group had continued to work jointly also after the official end of the project. In the school year 2019-2020, we have even been able to implement an adapted version of the Mehrsprachencurriculum Südtirol in the curriculum for all first formers of the Sprachengymnasium, and we will continue to implement it in the classes to come. This way, all students and teachers of our Sprachengymnasium have the guarantee that they can benefit of the multilingual modules that are being created within its context. The teachers of the curricular languages, that is, the teachers of German, Italian, English, French, Russian, Spanish, and Latin, plan and implement various multilingual modules together. In many modules, also the teachers of other subjects like physical education, biology, arts, history of arts have been involved. Future units with the help of teachers of history, philosophy, maths, and civics have been planned. Where possible, also the family languages of the students and the South Tyrolean dialect are integrated. All teachers are professionals and have attended and will attend seminars on multilingualism and third language acquisition. Based on their long experience, they develop and share multilingual modules, for instance, on multilingual awareness, intercomprehension, contrastive vocabulary, contrastive grammar, or reading and writing skill. Content is always integrated into language work. Our school focuses on languages and literature. Some units, for instance, compare a European literary period in a joint work of the teachers and students. Teachers plan the modules together and work partly in co-presence. Translanguages is encouraged, so are literary works, for instance, read in the original languages and are then re-elaborated in products in other languages. This slide and the next one show 2 pictures of some products of 2 models. The first photo is a page from a multilingual journal created by students. It is an example of cross-curricular work of creative writing and translanguaging. It was made by students in Year 4 in a cross-curricular model on romanticism. A plastic of the monster of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein was created together with a description of the work in French. Next to it, you can see a poem in English based on I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud by William Wordsworth. The next slide shows a poster which my students in Year 2 had created for multilingual lessons for pupils of a primary school. They had read out some children's books in German, English and Italian and had prepared several multilingual activities on The Little Prince by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry for them. Our school has always enhanced multilingualism in manifold ways in numerous multilingual initiatives. To name but a few, our students take part in multilingual creative writing workshops, in debating classes, in language competitions, in drama workshops, in Erasmus projects, in exchange programs on local, national or international level. They take part in language stays abroad organized by the school, etc. The difference to multilingual projects in the past is that projects now are better coordinated and that both teachers and students are more conscious of language learning strategies and techniques that can now be applied more efficiently without unnecessary repetitions that happen when languages are taught separately. Unfortunately, the COVID-19 pandemic has stopped our plans abruptly. All schools in Italy were closed on the 5th of March. The modules that we had planned will be postponed and to the coming school year, and we will find ways to teach them also from the remote if necessary. I have come to an end with my talk, with which I have opened 5 windows into my world. I hope that some ideas may serve as a source of inspiration, especially to the polyglot teachers or language policymakers among you. Thank you for your attention, and these are my references. Thank you.